Chapter 61, Skull Tribe. You are listening at novelfold.audio. Of course, the value of an item is measured by how important it is to you. Fang Hao couldn't use the medicine, but at this time, it was a life-saving thing at Dong Jiayue's place. The Shadow Stone Dong Jiayue can't use. It is a rare resource here in Fang Hao, just what everyone needs. Both of them got what they needed and were satisfied. Brother Hao, I used it, it seems to have some effect. I have to rest, I won't talk to you for now. Dong Jiayue said again. Well, have a good rest. After speaking, the two hung up the chat. Fang Hao also walked out of the wooden house, sat down at the dining table again, and continued to eat. After eating, Fang Hao did not rest, instead, go to the area where resources are stored and check the number of stone bricks collected. He arranged thousands of skeletons in Yinfeng Castle to demolish and collect stone bricks day and night. When I checked it yesterday, there were already more than 160 stone bricks, which must have reached the number. Now, sure enough, the number of stone bricks was 240 units, just in time for the upgrade of the Lord's Hall, Level 4 Lord's Chalet, Timber 2200, Stone 1000, Leather 240, Hemp Rope 180, Stone Brick 200, Upgrade. The Lord's wooden house instantly lit up with a faint light. A countdown to build begins, 10 minutes, as the buildings increase in level. The time to build them also starts to increase. This point should also be paid attention to in the future, so as not to upgrade at night. It is not okay for me and Ear to have no place to live. 10 minutes passed quickly, and the Lord's wooden house was also upgraded, Level 4 Lord's Chalet. Affiliated Lord, Fang Hao. There are buildings, Level 3 Underground Cemetery, Level 3 Warehouse, Level 3 Bone Burial Ground, Level 3 Logging Farm, Level 3 Pasture, Level 1 Lingtian, Level 3 City Wall, Level 3 Arrow Tower, Level 2 Corridor for the Dead, Guardian Pavilion, Skeleton Transformation Field, Organ Museum. Note, Territory Core Buildings. Materials required for upgrading, wood 3,500, stone 2,200, hard and tough wood 1,200, stone brick 1,000, hemp rope 550, iron 220. The fourth level Lord's Log House occupies a third of the area. Although it is still called a wooden house, from the outside, it is basically a house made of stone, and no wood components can be seen. Master, come and see, a new kitchen has been added. Ear shouted excitedly. Fang Hao also walked into the wooden house to check. The hall on the first floor has expanded a lot, and the tables and chairs that were originally placed have left a large space. In addition to the addition of a separate kitchen on the first floor, Ear no longer has to cook outside with a campfire. Continue up to the second floor. My own bedroom and study room were expanded again, and a new bedroom was added. There are now 4 bedrooms in the Lord's cabin. Fang Hao looked around and went downstairs to upgrade other buildings. When passing the first floor, I saw Ear jumping around, putting all kinds of cooking ingredients into the kitchen one by one. It seemed that there was a kitchen, and she was happy. Go outside and first upgrade the catacombs. Level 4 Catacombs, wood 1,200, stone 1,600, leather 100, hemp rope 240, shadow stone 5, catacombs, which can be used to recruit labor skeletons. Each time you level up, the maximum recruitable limit will increase. It is very helpful for territory development and material collection. Upgrade. After 5 minutes, the upgrade of the catacombs is complete. Level 4 Underground Cemetery, the upper limit of recruitment, 20/30. Available to recruit, skeleton, free. Note, you can recruit labor troops in this building. Do the groundwork. Materials required for upgrading, 2,000 wood, 2,500 stone, 400 hard and tough wood, 300 stone brick, 320 hemp rope, 10 shadow stone, 3 traces of death. Level 4 Underground Cemetery upgrade completed. The maximum recruitable limit has been increased by 10, but the upgrade materials for the next level have also increased a lot. Can be recruited, skeleton 10, whether to recruit. Confirm recruitment, triggered by 100 times increase, successfully recruited 1,010 skeletons. A hundredfold increase triggers direct access to 1,010 labor skeletons. Go to the warehouse to pick up the stone pickaxe and stand by outside the territory. Fang Hao said loudly. The recruited labor skeletons, after getting the stone picks in the warehouse, went to stand by outside the territory one after another. with sufficient basic resources, he still wants to arrange the 1,000 skeletons to carry out demolition work in Infong Fort, raise the building to the ground as soon as possible, and collect more stone brick reserves. I was also afraid that these skeletons would get lost if they went alone, so I had to put them on standby first, and then take them there when I was done. After all the skeletons left the territory, Fang Hao continued to the next building, level 4 bone burial ground, wood 1700, stone 2200, leather 350, hemp rope 500, shadow stone 12. The burial ground is the barracks of the Undead camp. At present, you can recruit first-order skeleton soldiers and first-order skeleton spearmen, all of which belong to the melee arms. Sufficient materials, just in time to upgrade. Confirm the upgrade. After 10 minutes, the upgrade is complete. The only pity is that the 4th level burial ground does not unlock new arms, just skeleton soldiers and skeleton spearmen. Next, Fang Hao upgraded one by one, the 4th level warehouse, the 4th level city wall, the 4th level arrow tower, and the 4th level pasture. When everything was done, the sky gradually darkened, returned to the room, cast divine appearance, and possessed the labor skeleton on standby outside the territory. With a big wave of his hand, he took all the newly recruited labor skeletons to Infong Castle to carry out the great demolition work. At the same time, Cold Wind Mountains, Skull Shatter Tribe, War Chief Thrall was waiting with a gloomy face. Not long after, the orc priest came in with a slightly haggard face. Lord Great Chief, Kent's soul is imprisoned by some force and cannot be resurrected through the altar. The priest said softly. Thrall's face was even more ugly. Can we communicate? Amiri asked. If the war chief needs me, I can briefly revive Kent's soul. Okay, then let his soul wake up. The priest nodded. Great Chief, please come with me. After that, the two walked out of the hall and went to the altar. The Skull Crush tribe is the most powerful orc tribe in the Coldwind Mountains. He conquered all the scattered tribes near the mountains and became the most powerful leader, but after the unification, the development of the tribe once again ushered in new difficulties. The land in the Coldwind Mountains is barren, and the resources that can be mined are getting scarcer. Thrall put his subsequent development on the resource-rich plains and forests. Kent was one of the forerunners he arranged, and when Kent developed with his support, he would move all the tribes there. In the past few years, backed by the Skull Crush tribe, the Kent tribe developed very rapidly. It quickly wiped out several small tribes nearby and gained a firm foothold. But just 2 days ago, Kent's soul returned to the altar, which also meant that Kent was dead, and even the hero altar could not be resurrected. Soon, the two came to the altar of heroes. Under the altar, there are hundreds of creatures of various races. Their throats are separated, and the blood pools together to form a strange pattern. Great Chief, Kent's awakening time will be very short, so he should ask as soon as possible. The priest asked again. Well, let's start. Amiri said he understood. The orc priest began to hold a ceremony, and on the altar of heroes, the vague figure of Kent, the flame blade, gradually emerged. Chapter 62, Looking for Mines. You are listening at novelfold.audio. Great Chief, it's time to start. After the sacrifice was finished, he stepped aside. Thrall looked at Kent's flickering figure and asked directly, Kent, how did you die? What about the others? Hearing Thrall's words, Kent's expression was slightly bitter, and he replied, A undead stronghold suddenly appeared near the tribe. They destroyed the tribe, and all the members died in battle, and none were spared. Whoa! All the top orcs below immediately became confused. The undead camp has always been mysterious and strange. They rarely appear in the area where the living beings gather, and every time they appear, it will bring panic and confusion. The Burning Blade tribe in Kent has also developed in that area for several years, but no undead stronghold has ever been found. Why did an undead stronghold suddenly appear? How strong is the opponent, and how many people are there? Thrall continued to ask. The enemy is only the size of a village. There are no heroic units, but there are hundreds of thousands of troops, all low-level troops. Kent continued to answer, but the figure on the altar had begun to shake violently, and it was obvious that it could not last long. The size of the village, how can there be so many troops? Thrall felt wrong, and even suspected that Kent might have read it wrong, or that his memory was confused. Indeed, these are what I have seen with my own eyes. The lord of the other party is still a human being. I suspect that he can control so many undead soldiers by possessing the treasures of the undead family. Kent wanted to continue talking, but in the next second, his condensed soul shattered directly, turned into a spot of light and slowly disappeared. Great Chief, the time has come, said the priest. Thrall nodded, thinking about what Kent had said. He didn't feel the slightest grief over the deaths of Kent and tens of thousands of orcs. War and death are the norm for the orcs, and they happen every day. The only thing he regrets is his support for the Kent territory in recent years. Who would have thought that a group of undead who suddenly appeared would shatter the efforts of so many years? While annoyed in his heart, he also recalled Kent's last words, that the other party may have treasures of the undead in his hands. This piqued his interest. If the other party really has any treasures in their hands, it is not in their own pockets. The Skullbreaker tribe is different from the Fireblade tribe. The Cold Wind tribe has already been conquered, and there are many soldiers and horses that can be used. Destroying a village with only low-level troops is simply an easy task, and Thrall himself is a purple tier 9 hero, and Kent can't compare. Come on. Orcs can come forward, Great Chief. Anshu, go to the Burning Blade tribe, explore the location of the undead village, and bring me all the information. Thrall said loudly. Yes. The orc took the order and hurriedly left to arrange the manpower. Thrall strode back, feeling much better. If what Kent said is true, a weak human has a treasure that can manipulate tens of thousands of undead. As long as he sends troops to destroy it, he will get this treasure. The strength of the tribe will be greatly improved. As for the battle, Thrall is not worried at all. What kind of defense can a village-level building have? He has absolute confidence that he can easily destroy this village and get the treasure in the opponent's hands. The next day, early morning, the sun shines through the windows, illuminating the room. Fang Hao rubbed his eyes, stretched out, and got out of bed. Another new day. After getting dressed, he walked out of the room slowly. Master, good morning. Ea was preparing breakfast in the kitchen. Seeing Fang Hao coming down, he showed a smile. Over the past few days, Ea has become more and more cheerful. Occasionally, he also told Fang Hao about the past tribes and the life of the orcs. Morning. Fang Hao waved his hand. Go out of the wooden house, scoop out some water in the wooden bucket, and wash. After the cabin was upgraded to level 4, there was an extra kitchen. I don't know if there will be a toilet with water in the future. After washing up, Ea also served breakfast, vegetable broth, and a fruit platter. In this situation, Fang Hao is alone, and he lives 2 lives with other lords. Ea inserted a piece of fruit and brought it to Fang Hao's mouth. Fang Hao opened his mouth to chew, his mouth full of sweetness and wine aroma. I put some sweet wine on the fruit. How does the master feel? Ea squatted aside and stared at Fang Hao with wide eyes. Ea was still wearing a worn linen coat with a loose collar and a proud bust. The hip-length shorts tightly wrapped the buttocks, making the white thighs full of sensuality. This also makes it uncomfortable to eat. Master? Does it taste bad? Seeing that Fang Hao didn't speak, Ea immediately asked, cough cough. It tastes good, very good. Fang Hao praised. The taste is really good. The fruit contains the wine aroma. He, that's good. Ea smiled happily and inserted a piece. Master is trying this. At the end of the breakfast, Ea cleaned up the dishes, while Fang Hao continued to go about his own business. He has important things to do today. Check around the territory to see where you need to do it yourself. Passing by the Organ Museum, the door was still open, but Nelson was nowhere to be seen. Since Nelson told himself that he could make skeleton heroes, he never came out. It seems that the production of the skeleton body is not as simple as imagined. The skeleton transformation field is still transforming orc corpses day and night, and a large number of orcs are transformed into orc skeletons and enter the army of the undead, especially the transformed warg. Many were arranged by Fang Hao to Yinfeng Castle to transport goods. Fang Hao walked around the territory for a week and found that there was no place for him to operate. Returning to the Lord's hut, after explaining to Ea, he lay on the bed and cast Divine Apparition. God is on the target. Skeleton Scout, Fit is 65%. Casting Fit, God came upon a skeleton scout. It should be because he drank the magic-inspired potion. and his fit increased from 50% to 65%. When performing continuous gods, the consumption of mental power will be reduced. The task I set for myself today is to explore the abandoned mine cave. On the intelligence map, he did not intend to drive with infantry, but with cavalry. To conduct a preliminary test first, follow the signs on the map. The abandoned mine is located on the north side of the territory, and the distance is not too close. Determine the direction and location. Follow me, all the cavalry. Fang Hao greeted and set off towards the abandoned mine in the north with 101 skeleton scouts, through the woods, over the depressions, gradually approached the location of the mine. Just when Fang Hao stopped his horse and reconfirmed his position, the sound of fighting and angry roars suddenly came from the front. Someone fighting? Fang Hao frowned slightly. Moreover, the position of the fighting sound also happened to block his path. Go and have a look. The cavalry approached quickly, and finally saw the target of the battle. This is a 10-man team of pig-headed people, holding swords in their hands and looking nervous, and their enemies are more cautious. A group of animals with rotting bodies and sunken heads surrounded the pig-headed people and were attacking. Damn it! Travel to Busan. Chapter 63, Iron Worms. You are listening at Novelfold.audio. Fang Hao had seen a carrion in Yinfeng Castle, but he was not shocked at this time. The animals that I saw on weekdays have now turned into monsters with strange actions and rotting bodies. A giant deer, covered with rotten acne, had most of its head sunken, its eyeballs dropped and hung aside, but it was still attacking the pig-headed man, and the pig-headed people who died in the battle, after falling to the ground, were like infected zombies, joined by rotten animals. Attack your former comrade. The entire battlefield is full of weirdness. Bighorn deer carcass. Prairie wolf corpse. Fang Hao looked at the information of several animal zombies one after another, and without exception, all the corpses were displayed, rather than combat units. This is not right. In Yinfeng Castle, the level and skills will also be displayed when encountering a carrion, so why does it show that it is a corpse? Tat-ata. The horse's hooves stepped on the ground, attracting the attention of pig heads and animal zombies. The pig-headed people saw a team of undead cavalry, and their faces were even paler. It was not out of the wolf pack and into the tiger's mouth. Today is mortal. The zombie animals were more direct. Looking at Fang Hao and others, they launched an attack directly. Go, kill them. I don't believe that you can also infect skeletons. Fang Hao said in a low voice. Even if you are a zombie, you can contagious, that is also infecting ordinary creatures. I don't believe that you can also infect skeletons. Hearing Fang Hao's order, the cavalry pulled out their waists, shook them, and launched an attack with their horses in their stomachs. The cavalry's charge was very powerful, and they chopped off the heads of several animals in one encounter. The head of one of the prairie wolves rolled to the feet of Fang Hao's horses. Just as it stopped, a slender insect emerged from the coyote's head, trying to escape into the distance. Iron-eating worms. Ability, parasitism. The white-boned horse's hoof stepped lightly, and the iron-eating worms were smashed into flesh. It seems that this iron-eating worm itself is not aggressive, but attacks by parasitic means. Soon, the parasitic animals were killed by the cavalry. The iron-eating worms emerged from the heads of the animals, and were trampled to death by all the pig-headed people who survived. Once the iron-eating worm leaves the host, it has no attack power and is easily killed. The battle is over. The skeleton cavalry surrounded the remaining dozen or so pig-headed people, either killing or staying, waiting for Fang Hao's order. Fang Hao approached on a skeleton horse and looked at the pig-headed team with cold eyes. This is the second time he has met a pig-headed man. Excuse me, do you know Master Fang Hao? Seeing that the skeleton cavalry was about to start, a pig-headed man bravely stood up. Hearing the other party's words, Fang Hao was slightly taken aback. You know me? Fang Hao asked. The pig-headed man saw that the direction of the skeleton cavalry was the direction of Fang Hao's territory, so he simply gave it a try. Unexpectedly, the skeleton in front of him admitted that he was Fang Hao. The pig-headed man hesitated and asked carefully, You are Mr. Fang Hao. Do you remember the Manam market I took you to a few days ago? As soon as he said that, Fang Hao knew, this hog-headed man is the hog-headed man who took him to Manam. Bolton. Bolton, is your village nearby? Fang Hao called out the other party's name directly. He saw that the pig-headed people all looked alike. If the other party didn't say it, there was no obvious difference. and he couldn't recognize the other party at all. Yes, yes. Master Fang Hao, you saved me for the second time. Bolton was instantly excited, and he knelt on the ground and thanked him loudly. He didn't know why Fang Hao was a skeleton, and he didn't care much. But he knew that if he and Fang Hao recognize each other, the other party won't kill them immediately. When the rest of the pig-headed people saw Bolton kneeling down, they also knelt down and thanked Fang Hao loudly for saving his life. Get up, why are you here? Fang Hao asked. Bolton stood up with several pig-headed people and replied respectfully, Sir, there is a mine in front of us. We are mining some ore in a safe place. You mean abandoned mine? Yes, the area of the mine is very large, but it is occupied by these insects. No force dared to mine it a long time ago. Our village is nearby, and occasionally arranges people to mine in a safe place nearby. Bolton introduced softly. Through Bolton's introduction, Fang Hao also learned something. This mine has existed for a long time, and many forces have tried to mine it, but any creature that comes close will be attacked by the iron-eating worm, turning it into a corpse puppet. No force could afford this kind of loss, and the mine was completely idled, becoming an abandoned mine. The pig-headed village is not far from here, and occasionally people will be arranged to mine some ore, but it is also often the case today. With casualties, there is no way to do this. Pig villages are not rich, and they are sometimes threatened and looted by other orcs. Even if people die, they will arrange for people to mine ore at the risk. Okay, take me to the mine to see. Fang Hao said softly. Hearing this sentence, all the pig-headed people's expressions changed. Bolton responded quickly and said, Sir, several of them are injured, let them go back to the village, and I will take you there. Okay, don't waste time. Fang Hao nodded in agreement. Several pig-headed people glanced at Bolton and turned away. Bolton took Fang Hao and other cavalrymen and continued to move in the direction of the mine. With Bolton leading the way, the entrance to the mine was soon seen. The mine covers a large area and can even be called a mine. You can also see abandoned rail cars, and some abandoned facilities. It seems that earlier, this place was specially constructed. Lord Fang Hao, the bugs are very active today. As long as they get close, they will attack, which is very difficult to deal with. Bolton said softly. Okay, you wait here, I'll go in and take a look. Fang Hao said, and walked forward with all the cavalry. Just stepped into the scope of the mine, then I saw manipulative corpses coming out of the mines, including various beast animals and manipulative orcs. Dismount and fight. Fang Hao ordered. All the cavalry dismounted, drew their weapons, and began to attack. Fang Hao wanted to verify whether these iron-eating worms had any effect on undead creatures. Sure enough, during the battle, an iron-eating worm broke away from its original host and climbed into the head of a skeleton cavalry in the chaos, but the next second, the skeleton cavalry directly stretched his fingers through his pupils, grabbing the iron-eating worm and strangling it to death. It seems that this iron-eating worm is useless against skeletons. As more and more corpses came out of the mine, Fang Hao also issued an order to retreat. Retreat. The cavalry remounted and moved away from the mine area. After retreating to a certain distance, the manipulated corpses all retreated and drilled back into the mine. Bolton also came over at this time. Sir, are you all right? Bolton, who lives nearby, knows the dangers of abandoned mines. Those who go in will not be able to come out alive. Fang Hao was the first, of course, in the current situation. Bolton is not sure if Fang Hao is still human. Go to your village. Chapter 64, Female Worms. You are listening at novelfold.audio. The arrival of a group of undead cavalry caused a brief period of chaos in the pig-headed village. Standing on both sides of the road, he whispered in panic. Fang Hao walked directly into the village under the leadership of Bolton. It can be seen that the pig-headed village is not rich, and the scale is similar to the previous kobold camp. There are 200 or 300 people. Sir, wait a moment, I'll go to invite the patriarch. Bolton said respectfully. No, find me a grass hut and don't let anyone disturb us, Fang Hao said. Well, Bolton found a grass hut in the corner of the village. My lord, is this okay? Bolton said, for fear that the other party would be dissatisfied. Yes, during this period, don't let anyone approach. Fang Hao warned again. I will tell the patriarch that no one will come near here. It is good. After Bolton left, Fang Hao let 100 cavalry enter the grass hut, and he immediately released the state of God's presence. The consciousness returned to the body. Fang Hao sat up from the bed, go out of the Lord's cabin and move around in the open space. After about half an hour of rest, the next plan began. Open the Book of Lords and turn to the crafting interface, find the previous torch, blueprint, torches, wood 1, thatch 2, leather 1. The torch is the blueprint obtained by killing Stronghold before again, there has been no chance to use it. Make 100, triggered by 100 times increase, get 10,100 torches. 10,000 torches appeared in front of Fang Hao. Let the skeleton push a few carts and bundle them all into the cart. With everything ready, Fang Hao returned to the room again and cast Shen Lin. God is on the target. Skeleton soldiers, 88% fit. When he opened his eyes again, God had already come to the skeleton soldiers. 8,000 skeleton soldiers, 2,000 skeleton spearmen, and 100 skeleton giant bats were counted. A total of 11,000 teams, carrying prepared torches, headed to the abandoned mine again. A few hours later, Fang Hao led the team to the abandoned mine again. The mining area is still desolate, the grass and trees are dead, and there is no living thing. The spearmen line up, and the skeleton soldiers put down their shields and pick up torches. Fang Hao gave the order loudly. The skeleton spearmen began to form an array to form a shield wall, and the spears in their hands protruded from the gaps between the shields. The skeleton soldiers put down their shields and picked up the prepared torches on the scooter. Use flint and flint, ignite one, and then ignite the torches in the soldiers' hands one by one. Fang Hao's idea is very simple. These insects are small and difficult to catch, and it is not convenient to cut with a sword. On the contrary, the burning torch, using the burning tip, press and kill it. All the torches were lit, and a fire was lit. Go forward, kill all the creatures. Fang Hao ordered again. The skeleton army entered the mine area, and in the dim mine, a large number of manipulated animals and orcs appeared again, attacked the skeleton army. The skeleton spearmen continued to advance, and the spear protruded, piercing all the attacking corpses. Iron-eating worms emerge from the corpse and start looking for a new host, noisy. But in the next second, a torch pressed it firmly to the ground and baked it into a scorch. 8,000 skeleton soldiers followed closely behind the spearmen, chasing the worms fleeing all over the place. In the face of the dead souls, these parasitic insects have no choice but to be burned and trampled to death after the host body dies. Soon, in the middle of the mine, hundreds of carcasses of various animals were piled up. And scorched, crispy worm carcasses. The battle outside is over. And the next step is the mine. Okay, ready to enter the mine. Fang Hao began to arrange. The width of the mine is limited, and only 3 people are allowed to pass side by side. Fang Hao then arranged for 3 skeleton spearmen to act as the first and second factions, and the back 3 rows were skeleton soldiers holding torches. The rest of the soldiers stood by the door. After everything is arranged, start lining up according to the plan and start entering the mine. Fang Hao arranged himself in the 3rd row, holding a torch in his hand, and followed. Closely behind the spearmen, the inside of the cave was dark, and the gloomy wind was blowing, making the torches keep shaking. With the help of the weak firelight, it can be seen that on the wall of the cave, there are all kinds of artificial scratches carved with mines. It seems that these bugs did not exist in the early days of mining, but only later appeared and occupied the mine. Continue to go deeper. The bones of various animals have begun to appear under the feet. The density is like a mass grave. Soon, a large number of parasitic animals began to appear in the depths of the mine cave ahead. Against the undead team, launched an attack. In this narrow mine, a fierce battle was launched. The parasitic animals launched an attack fearlessly. The skeleton spearman kept stabbing the spear in his hand, piercing the target in front of him and stabbing it into a honeycomb. And Fang Hao and others who followed closely behind were also very busy, used torches and feet to kill the escaped worms completely. After clearing a few waves of attacks, the team continued to push deep, finally came to the end of the mine. In the deepest part of the mine is a lair made up of many bones. The building style is somewhat similar to the swallow's nest, but inside the nest, it was not a swallow, but a giant worm. The bloated stomach is like a spider, constantly surging and squirming. Iron-eating worm, female worm. Ability: reproduction. I rely on. It turned out to be the mother of worms. no wonder no forces have been able to clean up these worms for such a long time. The worms have formed their own social system, and as long as the mother worm does not die, these iron-eating worms will not be eradicated. When the iron sword in the hands of a skeleton soldier slammed into the wall of the cave, and the crisp sound echoed in the mine, originally closed eyes, countless eyes suddenly opened, and they looked at several people with bloodshot eyes. At such a close distance, Fang Hao could feel the anger in the eyes of the female insect. The body of the female worm began to wriggle violently, the tail faces the skeleton team at an odd angle. I saw the huge belly of the female worm, squirming faster and faster. Next second, the tail is like a cuttlefish inkjet, spewing out a large number of iron-eating worms, shooting overwhelmingly. Fang Hao stood in the third row, seeing the swarm of insects sprayed like a high-pressure water gun. His face changed instantly. Skeletons are not afraid of these bugs, but there was a feeling of disgust in the bottom of my heart. Raise your shield to defend. The spearmen in the first and second rows raised their wooden shields. Clap clap. The insects hit the wooden shield, and a dense collision sounded. The spearmen will kill the female worm, and the rest will clean up the worm. Fang Hao avoided the jet attack meeting and began to order. The spearmen, regardless of the worms around him, began to attack the female worm. The rest of the people used various methods to clean up the iron-eating worms around them. Chapter 65, Pink Pigman. You are listening at novelfold.audio. After half an hour, the worms in the cave were basically cleaned up. After the skeleton spearman killed the female worm, a silver treasure chest was found behind the lair. It's a small gain. After exiting the mine, the skeleton behind him also moved out the silver treasure chest, put it in front of Fang Hao. Clean up the mine, remove all the corpses and bones, and burn them. Fang Hao ordered loudly. The skeletons began to divide the labor. Some cut down wood nearby, while the rest went into the mines and carried out all the bones of the corpses, ready to be burned. Fang Hao himself came to the treasure chest and opened it directly. Acquisition. Drawings of tiny iron bucklers, drawings of iron pickaxes, drawings of iron plates, war coins plus 65. Seeing the reward, Fang Hao's pupils lit up slightly. This treasure chest contains drawings related to iron, small buckler, wood 12, metal parts 5, iron plate 2. Description: on the basis of the wooden small round shield, a layer of sturdy iron is wrapped to improve the defense and toughness of the shield. Not bad. Tin buckler can just replace the current hardwood shield, increases the defense of infantry. Iron pickaxe, wood 2, iron 2. The iron pickaxe is the blueprint Fang Hao has been looking for, and the level of demand even exceeds the blueprint of weapons and equipment. Stone pickaxes are too slow to mine and have low durability and are easily damaged. Now there is an iron pickaxe, which can greatly improve the work efficiency of labor skeletons. Also, this iron axe and pickaxe are very popular items and can sell for a good price. Iron plate. Cast iron block 2. Description: processed iron plate, an important material for forging finished ironware. The appearance of the iron plate surprised Fang Hao even more. In this transaction with Tong Miao, the material for making the defense suit is iron plate. I didn't expect to get a drawing of the iron plate here. As for the cast iron block of the synthetic iron plate, although there is no clue, it is not in a hurry. It is still too early to promise copper bull delivery, and there is still plenty of time. Just when Fang Hao was checking the reward, the corpses of all animals were all set on fire. The reason for this was that there were still untreated worms, which were hidden in the corpse and did not come out. Simply set the fire on fire. The fire crackled, and the fire was like a giant dragon that devoured everything, covering all the corpses above and turning it into ashes. The fire burned for more than an hour before it gradually subsided and extinguished. After covering the skeletons with soil, lead the team back. Passing through the pig-headed village, Fang Hao cast divine proximity, changing from the soldiers to the skeleton cavalry. God is on the target. Skeleton scout, fit is 65%. As soon as the reins were pulled, the skeleton horse was raised high. The sound in the stables caught the attention of the pig-headed people outside. He walked in cautiously and said respectfully, "Is that Mr. Fang Hao?" Before, the pig-headed patriarch arranged to invite Fang Hao to the patriarch's hall. As anyone can say, these skeleton cavalry are like sculptures, unresponsive. In desperation, they arranged for someone to wait outside the door. "Is something wrong?" Fang Hao asked curiously. he still couldn't tell the appearance of the pig-headed man, but the man in front of him was definitely not Bolton. When the pig-headed man saw it, the skeleton really spoke, and his legs trembled, but he didn't forget the words of the patriarch. He swung his legs and hurriedly said, "Dear Mr. Fang Hao, our patriarch learned of your arrival, please go to the patriarch's hall." Oh. Fang Hao was taken aback and continued, "Lead the way ahead." "Okay, sir, please come with me." The pig-headed man replied and immediately led the way. The scale of the village is not large, and the land occupation is not large, and soon came to the central area of the village, the patriarch's hall. "Patriarch, Mr. Fang Hao is here." "Well, please come in, Mr. Fang Hao." Fang Hao entered the building directly. A female pig is sitting in the hall. He is about 1.5 meters tall and has a slightly plump body. He is wearing a light blue robe with red flowers sewn on the collar. She has pale skin and wears a gemstone necklace around her neck. It can be said that this is the most pleasing pig-headed man Fang Hao has ever seen, although the pig-headed image still does not conform to human aesthetics, but at least not disgusted, like a pet pig. "Mr. Fang Hao, good afternoon, my name is Petty. I heard that you want to clean up the abandoned mine. Do you need any help from us?" Petty asked softly. "No, the abandoned mine has been cleaned up. Before night comes, I will arrange for people to mine." Fang Hao replied softly, hearing Fang Hao's answer so casually, "Dang." Patriarch Petty didn't sit still and fell directly from the chair. He hurriedly stood up, his pink-white face instantly flushed red. He coughed lightly and said, "Lord Fang Hao, what did you just say?" "I didn't hear it clearly. You meant to clean up the abandoned mine, right?" "There have been many tribes trying to mine the mine, but there is still no way to mine it. Has been abandoned until now." She only thought that she had heard it wrong just now, or that Fang Hao had said it wrong. How could it be that the news of Fang Hao's arrival was just received in the morning, and it was cleaned up in the afternoon? "No, the iron-eating worms in the abandoned mine have been cleaned up by me. I will arrange for someone to mine the ore later," Fang Hao said again. Here Fang Hao's second confirmation. Petty was sure he heard it right, shock and wonder in his eyes. So quickly, so easily, they took over the abandoned mines that they were helpless to do. Some are unbelievable. If the undead skeleton in front of him is not, showing mystery and power, he will think it is a liar. "Are you kidding? Killed all the bugs?" Petty continued to ask. "There's nothing to hide. If you want to verify it, you can arrange for someone to visit now." Fang Hao's tone was flat, and then he added, "I own the mine alone. If you have any crooked thoughts, I will consider it provocative." As soon as these words came out, the expression on Petty's face froze slightly. He could hear the confidence in Fang Hao's tone. This kind of self-confidence is self-confidence in one's own strength, and it is even more indifference to the pig tribe. "No, of course not," Petty immediately defended. The atmosphere at this time was a little awkward. Petty invited Fang Hao to learn that Fang Hao was going to clear the mine, intend to give some support and get some benefits from it. Unexpectedly, the other party directly said that the mine had been cleaned up, and he strongly announced his ownership. This puts her in a dilemma now. Just as she continued to say something, there were rapid footsteps outside the door. I saw a pig-headed man hurried in. "Patriarch, it's not good. There are tens of thousands of undead legions suddenly appearing outside, and they are approaching the village." The pig-headed man who reported the news wiped the sweat from his forehead and said anxiously. Petty was even more panicked and asked anxiously, "Quick, quick, prepare to fight." As he said that, he was about to go out, completely forgetting Fang Hao, who was sitting beside him. When he sees the other party, he will rush out. Fang Hao only needs to say, "Patriarch Petty, these are my troops and will not attack you." Petty stopped, her eyes filled with surprise and fear. Chapter 66, Affiliated Villages. You are listening at novelfold.audio. The army of tens of thousands of skeletons also caused a lot of panic. Even if Fang Hao said that he would not attack the village, the worried pig-headed man still closed the village door, and Fang Hao, still sitting in the hall, looked at several pig-headed people whispering not far away, after learning that Fang Hao's army of skeletons was stationed outside the village. Petty called several senior members of the clan and said that there was an important matter to discuss. Directly put Fang Hao sighed and began to discuss in a low voice. Several of them were even more arguing with their heads turning red, like freshly cooked pork, thinking of pork head meat. Fang Hao is a little hungry, and he doesn't know what delicious food Er will make tonight. After all, after a busy day, being able to eat a meal is also a very happy thing. The pig-headed people didn't make Fang Hao wait too long. After the discussion, Petty came directly to Fang Hao, knelt down, and said softly, "Lord Fang Hao, we hope to join your command and become an affiliated village of your territory." The rest of the pig-headed people behind Petty also knelt down, their heads lowered deeply, expressing submission. Pig tribes are not strong, even a little weak. Fang Hao's territory is not far from the pigmen village, and he has to mine or nearby, so Petty and all the pigmen began to worry. In this continent, strength is the only iron law, and the battle between the orc tribes has never stopped. Even if Fang Hao doesn't show hostility now, then in the future, a little friction and improper handling will give Fang Hao a reason to destroy himself. At that time, with the strength of the pigmen village, it will only be a massacre without resistance. Now, Petty has only two options. First, move, take all the villagers to find a new foothold and rebuild the village. Second, surrender to Fang Hao and attach the village to the village. In the future, the power of life and death in the village will completely belong to Fang Hao, but migration is not an easy event. It is very likely that on the way to find their foothold, they have already been looted and attacked by other forces. At the time of death, the captives will be reduced to slaves and sold. Therefore, after several rounds of discussions, they chose the second option and surrendered to Fang Hao. Seeing Petty kneeling in front of him, Fang Hao realized that these pig-headed people were discussing this matter. "What's in it for me to join you?" Fang Hao asked rhetorically. He really has little interest in pig-headed people. Skeleton soldiers who don't eat or drink, work hard without complaint, are the ideal type of troops in his heart. These pig-headed people are not strong, and their appearance does not conform to their own aesthetics. They are attached to themselves, but they are dragging their own development. Hearing Fang Hao's words, all the pig-headed people were a little embarrassed. They were discussing the pros and cons of joining Fang Hao just now, but listening to Fang Hao's words, the other party seemed to be reluctant to accept him. This is delivered to the door, and people don't want to ask for it. "Lord Fang Hao, I want to say a few words," Bolton said softly behind him. "Speak." "Master Fang Hao, your territory is very powerful, but you still face many difficulties if you want to mine or across such a large distance, such as the storage of or after mining, and the interference of surrounding forces after the start of construction," Bolton said softly. Bolton had been to Fang Hao's territory and knew that the distance from the other party's visit was not close. According to the distance, some possible things are proposed. After Fang Hao heard this, his heart moved slightly. Bolton's words didn't make sense. "Go ahead," Fang Hao said. Bolton continued, "The solution is also very simple, Mr. Fang Hao. As long as you solve these problems, we can solve the ore storage, defense and maintenance of the mine." Fang Hao didn't speak, and the others waited silently. The plan given by Bolton is that the pigmen village will become a stronghold for ore mining, and the ore mined in the future can be stored in the village. And they are also responsible for the maintenance of the mine and the defense of surrounding forces. The focus of his development is still on the territory, and he cannot always pay attention to the mine. Not to mention, this is a really good idea. Fang Hao glanced at everyone and said softly, "Patriarch Petty, I want to talk to you alone." The pig woman was stunned for a moment, and hurriedly said, "Oh, okay." The rest all withdrew, leaving only Fang Hao and Petty. "Master Fang Hao, you can say it." Petty was a little embarrassed at this time. Her group of people planned to become Fang Hao's affiliated village, but the other party didn't like it and looked hesitant. This made the pig people suffer a lot. "Patriarch Petty, I can agree to your participation and arrange troops to give your village some protection, but I can't fully trust you yet," Fang Hao said softly. Hearing Fang Hao's words, Petty really didn't know whether to be happy or sad. You can hear the reluctance in the other party's tone. "What do you mean?" Petty gritted her teeth. "I need you to sign a slave contract for me to make sure you don't do anything harmful to me," Fang Hao said directly. Hearing this, Petty's face instantly turned pale. Signing a slave contract is not the same as ordinary slavery. With a contractual relationship slave, you cannot disobey any order of the master. Even if you are asked to die, you can only obey. once this contract is signed, she will be at the mercy of Fang Hao. This made Petty hesitate, not knowing what to do. I'll give you 2 minutes to think about it, Fang Hao said. No, I promise you to sign a slave contract, and I hope you will not embarrass other villagers, Petty said directly. Well, you can still call me the Lord in the future, and I won't say anything about the slave contract. Thank you, my lord. The reason why Fang Hao left Petty was to give her some face. It is not a glorious thing for the former patriarch to become the slave of others. Pig people villages are willing to become your affiliated villages. You can click to confirm in the Book of Lords. Now Fang Hao is still in a state of divine presence and cannot be confirmed in the Book of Lords. Okay, explain to the villagers, I will come over in person. Fang Hao continued, personally. Petty didn't understand a little, so he glanced carefully and lowered his eyes quickly. Good lord, Petty replied. Fang Hao walked out, returned to the skeleton team, and released the state of God's presence. Fang Hao sat up from the bed, picking up the Book of Lords at the bedside to check. Sure enough, the option to confirm the affiliated village appeared. Select directly to confirm. Pig Village, become your affiliated village. You can name the village, and can control all the resources of the village. No need to worry about naming it, but having all the resources at his disposal surprised Fang Hao. The Book of Lords is connected to the warehouse of the other party. As long as you want to, you can control and use the resource reserves of the pig village in the territory. That is to say, if the iron ore is put into the warehouse, he does not need to transport it to his own territory. It can be crafted and used through the Book of Lords. In the same way, in Pigman village, you can pass the Book of Lords and use the resources in the territory, which are all the same. This further highlights the importance of pig villages for mining. Unlock a new blueprint. Stable Construction Blueprint. Chapter 67, Each Division of Labor. You are listening at novelfold.audio. After becoming an affiliated village, new blueprints are unlocked. Once you have a stable, you can raise horses in the stable. Opening the door and going downstairs, I saw Ear drying the carpet. Seeing Fang Hao coming out, he smiled sweetly. Master. Kindness. Fang Hao also smiled slightly. I just watched a group of pig-headed people, and now I am looking at the sweet Ear, which is really cute and pleasing to the eye. By the way, I have to go out later. You can eat first when you come back late. Fang Hao said. Ah. Then I'll wait for the master to come back and eat together. Ear said. Well, I'll try to come back as soon as possible. After finishing speaking, Fang Hao began to arrange manpower to go to the Pigman village. First, 500 labor skeletons and 10,000 skeleton soldiers were transferred back from Infeng Castle, set off again, and take a large army to the pig village. A few hours later, when Fang Hao arrived at the Pigman village, it was already dusk, and a dark red cloud rose up in the sky. The pig-headed man in the village saw another huge army of skeletons coming. His face was full of shock and disbelief. How many troops does Fang Hao have? And every time he travels, there are more than 10,000 people. The patriarch just informed him that the village has become a subsidiary village of Fang Hao. Some of the young pigs were unimpressed, even resentful. It is a shame for the orcs to be attached to Fang Hao, but seeing Fang Hao bringing in an army of 10,000 undead again, they lost their minds. I can only pray that the attachment will go smoothly this time. Don't anger Fang Hao, and directly level the village. The village door opened, and everyone looked for Fang Hao's figure. I'm Fang Hao, where is your patriarch? Fang Hao walked out from the center of the team. I go. All the pigs who greeted him were stunned again, and all looked back at Bolton. Isn't Fang Hao a skeleton? How did you become human again? Bolton saw Fang Hao and immediately stepped forward and said, Lord Fang Hao, the patriarch is waiting for you in the room. You can just go to the room when you come. Fang Hao is right when he thinks about it, and he can avoid being seen by others when he signs a slave contract. Kindness. Fang Hao walked straight into Petty's room. The room is dim. The afterglow of the sunset, through the pink curtains, filled the room with an ambiguous atmosphere. Petty knelt on the bed with her back to the door. The light blue robe is half hanging, revealing the pink-white back, and it can be seen from the side that the two plump, half-covered, half-leakage are full of flesh. Lord, you can start now. Petty turned his head and said softly, ah this. When Petty turned her head, all her dreams were shattered. Petty, this is not necessary. Fang Hao hurriedly exclaimed, even if Fang Hao thinks that Petty is a cute type among the pig people, relatively speaking, it does not mean that the aesthetics has changed, and it can reach this point. Pigs do not conform to Fang Hao's aesthetics, and humans also do not conform to the aesthetics of pigs. Both thought the other looked weird and belonged to the ugly type. Hearing Fang Hao's words, Petty even blushed and approved the clothes, embarrassed. My lord, I. Petty blushed. She wanted to dedicate herself and let Fang Hao treat the village kindly, but he was directly rejected by the other party. Okay, the contract is signed, there are still a lot of things to do. Fang Hao opened the Book of Lords and turned to the contract page. The Book of Lords contains a total of 2 slave contracts, one is ears, and the other is a blank contract purchased from the man in tavern last time. It is good. Petty pricked his finger lightly with a needle, blood flowed out, and pressed directly on the contract. Contract completed. Petty of the pig people, the current loyalty to you is 65. The initial loyalty is 65, it seems that Ear's initial loyalty is more than 50, it seems that Petty trusts him quite a bit. Okay, put on your clothes, let's go to the mine. Fang Hao said, the contract ends. Fang Hao also trusts the pig-headed man more. After Petty was finished, the two walked out of the room. Petty began to gather people to go to the mine. Fang Hao opened the Book of Lords and made tools, iron pickaxe, wood 2, iron 2. The number of productions is adjusted to 10, triggered by 100 times increase, get 1010 iron pickaxe. Wagon, wood 22, hemp rope 8. Quantity 10, triggered by 100-fold increase, get scooter 1010. 1,000 iron picks and 1,000 carts appeared out of thin air. Once again, many pig-headed people were startled. I don't know who was the first to kneel down, and all of them fell to the ground one after another, bowing their heads in worship. In their opinion, only gods can create so many things out of thin air. Even the patriarch, Petty, has grown in loyalty after kneeling down. Petty's loyalty to you increases by 30, and the current loyalty is 95. Good guy, and a windfall. Petty's loyalty jumped 30 points straight to 95. When everything is ready, the two of them took their subordinates and started to go to the abandoned mine. Standing in front of the mine that was no longer dangerous, Fang Hao said, you don't need to be responsible for mining and transportation. You are responsible for the road between the village and the mine, and the defense of the mine. Mining is done by labor skeletons, and skull wargs are transported. What the pig people have to do is to level the road between the village and the mine, and to make a defensive arrangement for the mine to prevent other forces from attacking in the future. Okay, sir, I'll arrange it right away, Petty said. Petty went to arrange work for the pigs, and Fang Hao began to give orders to the skeletons. You pick up the iron picks and are responsible for mining ore here. Fang Hao ordered loudly. The 500 labor skeletons brought in pick up the iron pickaxe and enter the mine to start mining ore. Your next task is to patrol nearby to protect the safety of the mine. Fang Hao ordered another 2,000 skeleton soldiers and arranged them near the mine. Other forces or beasts do not yet know that the iron-eating worms have been cleaned up. After a long time, there will eventually be beasts approaching and disturbing the living skeletons. When Fang Hao arranged everything, Petty also explained the work. He walked over and said softly, Sir, it has been arranged, and construction will start early tomorrow morning. It's really late today, and I can't work. Okay, let's go back first. Return to the village. Petty accompanied Fang Hao and walked around the village. Pig villages are not very large, and the level of the village is not high. According to Petty, they also migrated from outside for a few years. Her father, the previous patriarch, died in the hunt, and she became the new patriarch. Also after taking over, he began to sell items to the Manim market. After walking around, I looked at all the buildings carefully. The buildings include the patriarch's hall, the log city wall, a warehouse, 3 pastures, a farm, a stable, and dozens of houses where ordinary pigs live. Among them, the stable is Fang Hao's most satisfied. The stables house more than a dozen adult and young horses. When the village becomes an affiliated village, the blueprint for the construction of the stable is also unlocked in the blueprint. It can be seen from the pastures and stables that the pig people are better at raising them, and some livestock are raised better and healthier. After visiting the village, Fang Hao started to upgrade the pig village. Chapter 68, Wooden Spinning Wheel. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Follow the rules. Fang Hao can use the materials of the affiliated village at will, but if Petty wants to use it, he needs Fang Hao's consent. In a sense, this village is already Fang Hao's village. Petty is more of a temporary administrator, acting as the village chief. Therefore, it is essential to upgrade the village and increase the defense level. Thinking of this, Fang Hao immediately upgraded. The city wall was upgraded to 3 levels, and arrow towers were built in each of the 4 corners. Then, all the buildings in the village were upgraded to level 3. The attached village is different from the attached territory. The building level cannot exceed the territory, and can only be upgraded to level 3. Petty looked a little excited as he watched the expansion and upgrade of the village. The upgrade just now meant that the village would be less developed for several years. My lord. Petty's eyes glowed with stars. Although the human being in front of her is still ugly, it does not hinder her worship and admiration in the slightest. Okay, I'm going to leave later. I'll leave you some defensive troops. You think it's better to keep as much? Fang Hao said softly. Fang Hao still needs to return to his own territory. He will leave some troops in the pig village for daily patrol and defense, but the number still needs to ask Petty what he thinks. The other pig-headed people in the village are still somewhat resistant to the undead creatures. My lord, can these undead soldiers obey orders? Petty asked after thinking for a while. If Fang Hao leaves, these undead soldiers will lose control, and I am afraid they will directly destroy the village. Don't worry, I will give them an order before leaving. Except for me, I will obey your order. Fang Hao also understood Petty's concerns and explained softly. Oh, that's good, then arrange 1,000 soldiers to be responsible for the security of the village. Petty said softly, the village is not large, it is only used for defense of the village, and 1,000 people are enough. It is good. Fang Hao ordered 1,000 skeleton soldiers and ordered them to follow Petty's orders except himself. Wait until everything is in order. Fang Hao took the remaining skeleton soldiers and began to return to the territory. When returning to the territory, the moonlight hangs high. Along the way, the army of skeletons held high torches, and there were still many beasts following closely in the darkness. But when the army attacks, the beast will run away. After following for a while, when they got close to the territory, they dispersed. Just walked back to the Lord's cabin. Ear heard the sound, opened the door and rushed out. Master, you're back. Ear threw herself into Fang Hao's arms, like a kitten that has been waiting for its owner at home, a little cautious and a little complaining. Fang Hao smiled slightly, touched her ears, and said, I'm a little busy, so I came back late. The loyalty of Rabbit Ear to you has increased by 8 points, and the current loyalty is 98. Kindness. I touched my ears and found 5 loyalty points. Fang Hao gently touched Ear's ear again. Ear raised her head and said affectionately, Master. After the loyalty reached 98, Fang Hao could clearly feel Ear's dependence on Fang Hao. It was completely different from when Fang Hao just bought it. Okay, you're such an adult, and you're still coquettish. Have you eaten yet? Fang Hao asked softly. Yes, I'll prepare it with you. Ear let go of Fang Hao and went to the kitchen to prepare dinner. The two simply had dinner. It was getting dark, so I went straight back to the room. Lying on the bed, the first god came to the skeleton giant bat and patrolled around the territory. No danger was found, so he went to sleep peacefully. Day 2, when Fang Hao woke up, the sun was shining brightly. He slept late yesterday, and Ear didn't wake him up either. He didn't expect to sleep until noon. Get dressed, go downstairs, and start taking a shower. Master, you are awake. Ear said with a smile. Fang Hao replied while wiping his face. Master, wait a moment, I will prepare breakfast immediately. By the way, a skeleton merchant came to the territory. Let me wake up and go to the market. The sudden appearance of the skeleton merchant surprised Ear. Fortunately, the skeleton merchant was more polite, and after revealing his identity, he returned to the market area. Fang Hao was slightly taken aback when he heard the skeleton merchant. Immediately look at the wooden board in front of his door and record the time. Sure enough, it was time for the skeleton merchant to arrive. Well, I'll go take a look. Fang Hao said. Ear went to the kitchen to prepare breakfast, while Fang Hao walked quickly to the market area. Inside the market, the undead area, skeleton merchant rule, leaning on crutches, was sitting gracefully on a chair and waiting silently. Seeing Fang Hao coming, he got up and said respectfully, Lord, good noon. Good noon, Mr. Roar, I was busy yesterday and got up a little late. Fang Hao said apologetically. It's okay, do you want to see the goods now? It is good. The crutch in Roar's hand tapped the ground again, the cemetery opened again with a dim delivery, and the rack of bones rose. There are still 6 items on the shelves: leather vest blueprint, white, price, 5 war coins, wooden spinning wheel blueprint, green, price, 20 war coins, forging furnace architectural blueprint, green, price, 25 war coins, advanced hero contract, blue, price, 10 war coins, organ jar, green, price, 50 war fire coins, blank map, price, 2 war coins, caravan. Stop time, 2 hours 12 minutes. Looking at the drawings this time, Fang Hao was very satisfied. Sure enough, shopping is the quickest way to meet your needs. This time, let him obtain many drawings. Mr. Roar, I want all the goods this time. Fang Hao said with a smile. He took out 72 war coins from his pocket and handed them to Roar. Thank you for your generosity. Roar took all the drawings off the shelf and handed them to Fang Hao one by one. The market is in its infancy, and the items sold are also common commodities. When Roar Fang Hao's impression is very good, it's a pleasure to do things, and every time I look at the goods, I buy them all. The shelves were emptied, and Roar slowly walked back to the tomb. Goodbye, Lord. Goodbye Mr. Roar, looking forward to your next visit. Roar saluted gracefully, and the tomb slowly closed. After sending the skeleton merchant away, Fang Hao began to check the properties of the purchased goods this time. Leather vest, white iron 3, leather 5. A vest is not the same as a saddle is a seat placed on the horse's back to increase the stability of the ride. The vest is a kind of armor, which puts a layer of armor on the horse to increase the defense of the horse. Prefer to use with horses participating in combat. Getting a vest can be regarded as increasing the combat capability of the territorial cavalry. Don't rush to make it. Continue to look at the same drawing. Wooden spinning wheel drawing, green wood 22, metal parts 5. Hemp rope 3. Description: an important tool for making cloth. Chapter 69, Ogre Stronghold. You are listening at NovelFold.audio. The role of the spinning wheel seems to be related to the tailoring industry. These are still far from Fang Hao, so they are not in a hurry to make them. Forge, stone 12, clay 5. Description: let the furnace burn, you can smelt metal and cast it into metal blocks. Metal nuggets. Seeing the introduction, Fang Hao was overjoyed. Cast iron block is a necessary material for making iron plate. Fang Hao has been paying attention to the method of obtaining cast iron block. Unexpectedly, it is not a blueprint synthesis, but a forging furnace smelting. After reading the properties, he immediately selected an open space on the left side of the Lord's wooden house to build it. Next, a forge made of stone and clay was constructed. Forging furnace. Material, iron 5. Product. Cast iron block, takes 15 minutes. Description: metalworking can be obtained by heating, and used for crafting and alchemy materials. The original cast iron block is obtained in this way. Fang Hao made 5 more forging furnaces. Then you guys will be responsible for making the forging furnace in the future. Fang Hao selected a few lucky skeletons nearby and asked them to take care of the forging furnace. It takes 5 minutes to form each cast iron block in the forging furnace, and Fang Hao can't watch it from here, so he can only leave it to the skeleton to operate. The stopped skeleton turned around stiffly. After taking a look at the forging furnace, go to the warehouse and put the iron ore in it. Seeing that the skeleton could use the forge normally, Fang Hao was relieved. Continue to view. Hero contract, blue. Advanced hero contract, blue. Description: senior slave contract, can sign a subordinate contract with the supreme blue hero. Slave contract: he already has 2. This time, I actually got a hero contract, and I can actually sign a contract with the blue hero. Not bad either. The Book of Lords for contracts is recorded, and it may not be used any time. The rest of the items have appeared before. Fang Hao also knows the role. Check all item properties. Fang Hao came to the ranch area yesterday. After accepting Pig Village as an affiliated village, the blueprint for the stables was unlocked. Once built, horses can be raised in a stable, choose a suitable open space and choose to build. First-class stables, 720 for wood, 450 for stone, 350 for thatch, and 180 for hemp rope. Description: used for raising and training horses. The stables were completed, and Fang Hao continued to upgrade the stables. Due to the need for stone bricks at level 4, the stables can only be upgraded to level 3 at present. The territory is currently divided into 3 areas: inner city, military area, and feeding area. The inner city includes the Lord's hut, warehouses, guardian pavilions, organ museums, and a newly built forge. The military area has underground cemeteries, burial grounds, corridors of the dead, and the transformation field of skeletons. The feeding area has pastures, spiritual fields, and stables. The 3 divisions are placed in different places without interfering with each other. Fang Hao's territory is somewhat different from other people's territories. Other races need to build dwellings for farmers and soldiers, and most of the open space in the territory will be occupied by civilian buildings, but Fang Hao didn't need it here. He and Yi in the territory were not satisfied with living in a lord's wooden house. The hero Nelson lives in the organ museum and doesn't need another home. Therefore, even with these buildings, most of the territory is still empty, making it seem unusually empty. After finishing all this, Yi also prepared the meal and called Fang Hao over to eat. While eating, Fang Hao watched the regional channel again. Check out everyone's progress. What happened to the guy who was attacked yesterday? He didn't speak for a day. It is estimated that there are many misfortunes. If my territory is destroyed one day, I will not be surprised. I'll buy some weapons from Mr. Fang Hao later to increase some self-protection capabilities. Survived the boiling of animal blood, but everyone's safety has not improved. On the contrary, because of the disappearance of the protective cover, more and more territories were discovered by nearby local forces, and many were destroyed. For a time, not only did the weapons in Fang Hao's hands start to sell well, but even the meat that had been hard to sell the previous 2 days became popular. A dozen refugees came from outside the territory yesterday and asked to join the territory. My Chow, there is such a good thing, the labor force for nothing. It's a good thing. These people don't look like refugees at all, they look like a group of robbers. There are only a dozen militiamen in my village, and I always have a bad feeling. Then you let them join in, so I'm not afraid to kill you. I also regret it. I didn't react at the time. I have to get more soul crystals and recruit more troops, just in case. Seeing this person, Fang Hao remembered the pig village he received yesterday. This is not a game. The digitization of the world is only to make it easier for the lords who have passed through to understand the world. The original inhabitants have no less intelligence than you, and even know the world better than you. Therefore, the slave contract, a contract that restricts the other party, is particularly important. At least after the contract is signed, the other party will not make harmful decisions. Finish the food in a hurry. Many lords chatted with Fang Hao privately, requesting to customize some weapons and tools such as iron axes and iron spears. Fang Hao made some directly and sold them on the shelves. Only when everyone is generally wealthy can he, the merchant, exchange for better and rarer resources. Otherwise, except for himself, everyone is poor. Then he can only exchange for ordinary resources such as stone and wood. Next, Fang Hao is still busy with his own business. Today his plan is to explore and get the second map, the Ogre Stronghold. Open the map of the Book of Lords to see the exact location. The base is located on the west side of the territory, which is the direction where you met the Lostwood Samurai before, just a little further away. After finishing everything, Fang Hao returned to the room directly. After lying on the bed, cast a state of presence and enter the body of a skeleton cavalry. God is on the target. Skeleton scout, fit is 65%. This time Fang Hao carried a skeleton giant bat and rushed in the direction of the Ogre Stronghold. For hooves tossed and galloped all the way. The beasts encountered on the way also ignored it and just ran towards the target point. 2 hours later, after approaching the Ogre Stronghold, he pulled the reins to stop the skeleton horse. This place is a rocky area, surrounded by mountains, forming a depression-like terrain. The Ogre Stronghold can be seen in the distance, messy buildings, and huge figures walking around. Fang Hao needs information, and once again uses Shenlin to change the target, attached to a skeleton giant bat on horseback, rush into the air and fly towards the ogre's stronghold. Looking down at the ground from the air, you can see the entire base. The stronghold is built on the mountain, and there are no defensive facilities such as city walls. In addition to the shabby and dilapidated tents, there are skeletons all over the ground, and various heads stuck on wooden stakes. Ogre, Tier 7. The ogre is bloated and huge, about 3 meters tall, with only a loincloth hanging from his body, and a giant stick in his hand. It's actually a 7th-order army. The skeleton giant bat landed on the mountain wall and counted the number of people. The number is really quite a lot. There can be more than 50 ogres. After counting the number of people, Fang Hao did not stop, flew back to the side of the skeleton cavalry, and issued an order to return to the territory. Chapter 70, Fighting Ogres. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. Fang Hao sat up from the bed after he was released from the state of imminent presence. Straight out of the Lord's cabin, there were more than 50 Tier 7 arms, which was beyond Fang Hao's expectations. It is no wonder that there is not a single tribe near the ogre stronghold. I'm afraid they've all been wiped out, become food in the belly of ogres. Even Fang Hao was a little hesitant at this time. If you want to destroy the ogre stronghold, you will have to suffer a lot of casualties. Is this worth it? Just as Fang Hao was thinking about it, he saw a worker skeleton passing by with a newly completed cast iron block in his hand. Seeing the cast iron block, his eyes lit up. By the way, there are new equipment blueprints in hand. After all the soldiers have changed their equipment, the defense of the soldiers has been improved, and the loss may not be in the eyes of their imagination. Thinking of this, Fang Hao's confidence rose again, and he planned to touch these ogres. See the production column. There are 3 new equipment blueprints: plate armor, green; gauntlet, green; iron round shield, green. There are a total of 3 green-level blueprints. Among them, plate armor and gauntlet are obtained from copper bulls. I haven't gotten the iron plate blueprint before, and I haven't replaced the arms. Yesterday, in the treasure chest obtained by attacking the mine, I obtained the blueprint of the small iron round shield and the blueprint for the production of iron plate armor, leather 12, iron 6, iron plate 4. Gauntlets, leather 5, iron 3, iron plate 2. Small buckler, wood 12, metal parts 5, iron plate 2. There are 54,000 skeleton soldiers responsible for the security of the territory, and they are arranged to patrol the perimeter of the territory. In Fang Hao's hands, there were 18,867 wriggling spines that were not used. As long as Fang Hao is willing, he can summon the Sea of Undead and destroy all the enemies. Of course, so far, it is not enough to use all the peristaltic spines, so first equip these 54,000 skeleton soldiers, including the troops arranged in Pigman village and Yinfeng fort. 60,000 sets of equipment will be produced. There are 174 cast iron blocks in the warehouse. Make the iron plate first, iron plate, cast iron block 2. All made, the quantity is 87, triggered by 100 times increase. Get iron plate 8787. Sufficient materials. Continue to make equipment, plate armor, gauntlet, and small iron round shield. The number of production is adjusted to 600, triggered by 100 times increase. Get 60,600 plate armor. Triggered by a hundredfold increase, obtain 60,600 gauntlets. Triggered by 100 times increase, obtain 60,600 small iron round shield. In an instant it was like the sky was falling, and countless green rays of light appeared in the territory. Pieces of equipment were piled up in every corner around Fang Hao. The number is far greater than the number of previous doublings. Even Ear, who was in the wooden house, heard the sound of the iron armor colliding and rubbing, and the probe carefully checked. Fang Hao picked up the equipment on the side and checked it. Plate armor and gauntlet are wrapped in a layer of iron armor on the outer layer of leather to increase the defense of the armor. The small iron round shield is wrapped in iron on the outer layer of the wooden shield. It can be said that the increase of these 3 kinds of equipment, the soldier's overall defense more than doubled. Play a higher combat effectiveness in battle. The equipment is completed. Fang Hao cast divine appearance, attached himself to the skeleton cavalry, and called back all the soldiers near the territory to replace the equipment. After all the soldiers replaced their equipment, Fang Hao directly counted 30,000 infantry soldiers, and 2,000 skeleton soldiers replaced two-handed light crossbows. A total of 32,000 troops. Fang Hao returned to the room and cast Divine Presence on a skeleton soldier, leading an army of 10,000 people. They left the territory mightily and marched towards the Ogre stronghold. 3 hours later, the team is close to the stronghold, and the beasts and animals that often haunt are nowhere to be seen here, except for the sound of the leaves shaking when the breeze blew. There was no chirping of insects or birds at all. These ogres are really hard to mess with, even birds don't dare to approach. Fang Hao muttered softly while looking at the surrounding situation. Indeed it is. Rank 7 is the highest ranked unit that Fang Hao has seen after crossing over. Neither the Orc tribe nor the ordinary Tauran warriors in the Manim market have reached this level. Coupled with the ogre's brutal and gluttonous temperament, the surrounding area has literally become an isolation zone, with no strongholds of beasts and villages. The team continued to advance rapidly, and the iron armor on the soldiers made a rubbing sound. Soon, they had already advanced to a position not far in front of the stronghold. The scale of the army of tens of thousands of people also attracted the attention of the ogres. They all stood up from the ground and picked up huge wooden sticks in their hands. During the roar, more than 50 huge ogres launched an attack. The earth trembled and the leaves flew. Bowmen shoot freely. Fang Hao ordered loudly, whoosh whoosh. The dense iron arrows roared out, but the ogres also tightly covered their heads with their arms, and the steps under their feet did not stop at all. Immediately there were several ogres, their bodies and arms full of arrows and blood flowing. When the ogre was still 500 meters away, Fang Hao gave the order for an all-out attack. Everyone attacked and killed them. At the same time, Fang Hao sounded the horn of war. Circles of faint ripples enveloped all the skeleton soldiers, and their movement speed and attack were increased. Whoa, whoa! The 30,000 skeleton army moved. The pace of his steps gradually accelerated, and finally he ran in big strides, killing the ogre that was ushering in. Boom! A loud bang. The skeleton soldier who rushed to the first place was hit by the ogre's giant stick. Like a kite with a broken string, it flew out and fell back to Fang Hao's side. Fang Hao looked at the skeleton in front of him, and stood up staggeringly, and the plate armor on his body has sunk into a shocking pit. The skeleton soldier didn't seem to be injured. He shook his head, stopped for 2 seconds and continued to kill the ogre. It seems that the plate armor played a big role. If it was the simple leather armor before, the skeleton that was hit would definitely be shot into pieces. Bang bang bang. Every time the ogres swung their bat, several skeleton soldiers were sent flying and shattered, but the number of skeleton soldiers rushed forward like locusts and attacked the target in front of them. Fang Hao was not watching the battle either. He pulled out the iron sword from his waist, and killed him. Puff puff. The skeleton soldiers slashed out the weapons in their hands with all their might, but the ogre had thick skin and thick flesh, and although only wearing a covering cloth, it was difficult to inflict fatal damage. On the contrary, the ogre waved the wooden stick again and again, and skeletons kept flying upside down and were smashed into a pile of broken bones. Fang Hao slid down and flashed to the side of the ogre. He slashed 2 swords in a row, leaving 2 sword marks on his thick, hairy thighs. It doesn't work like this. Seeing that such consumption is not the way, Fang Hao also began to think about other countermeasures. At this time, the ogre's covering cloth caught Fang Hao's attention. Then, there was a sneer. You have thick skin, I don't believe you are thick too. Before he finished speaking, Fang Hao stabbed the ogre in the crotch with a sword.